Hey guys, KUZO here, back with another video, and in this video today is gonna be a little bit more of a serious topic. Many of you guys might have already seen the circulation of videos and talk about COPPA. And COPPA is something that's going to drastically impact the YouTube landscape for many creators far and wide, from gaming, art channels, craft channels, and many other. For those of you who don't know what COPPA is, I'm just going to do a quick recap on what it is and why it's around. I'm going to give links to better informed videos on exactly what COPPA is, but I'll give you guys a quick rundown. Basically, it's a US regulation that stands for Children Online Privacy Protection Act, and it's regulated and enforced by the FTC. And the reason why this is so significant right now is because YouTube had gotten a fine for violating COPPA. So basically, they were caught collecting data on children through the form of personalized ads. And when they were caught and, they were put through trial and stuff, they were fined $170 million. But that's pretty much a drop in the bucket for YouTube. But of course, they wouldn't want to be hit with that all the time. But anyways, that's not the point. Basically, the point is, after this whole thing, YouTube found a way to have the responsibility of the COPPA regulation fall onto YouTube creators. So basically, they made this option where when a YouTuber uploads a video, they have to classify it as for kids or not for kids. So basically, this way, the content creator is liable for determining whether their video falls under COPPA or not. So now we are liable for any penalties and stuff like that for if we mark our video wrong, because the FTC has said in videos and has made it very clear that they are actually going to be checking YouTube and creators to see if their videos are COPPA compliant. And they didn't just say they were going to check, but within the video itself that many of you have probably seen, he referred to YouTube creators as fish in a barrel, which, if you don't know the analogy, it's pretty much saying that all of this content is centralized in one area, and it's very easy to go ahead and try to find these violations, and pretty much being able to shoot in this one barrel and be able to hit all these fish that are us, the content creators, violating these COPPA laws. So for those of you who haven't heard about this, you might be thinking, so what's the problem? You can just mark it as, for kids and you'll be safe. Well, basically, if you're marking it for kids because of the COPPA violation and you cannot collect data on children, you will lose a bunch of features. Biggest features is losing personalized ads, which is what got YouTube into this mess in the first place. Basically, personalized ads are ads that are based on a user's search history, they watch videos, Google search, all that sorts of stuff. For example, if you watch a video about art or something like that, and after watching that video, you might end up getting some sort of art program ad, because they're basing it on your search history and watch history, that type of thing. Personalized ads make up just about 70% of a YouTuber's revenue, which means if I made a video that was supposed to make $100, I would only make $30 from that video. Some research and analysis has even put it up to 90% drop in revenue, which is so devastating, and it would just ruin so many YouTube channels. You might be thinking, that is a really big loss, but these YouTubers can at least maybe try to depend on alternate support like Patreon or something like that, and continue to upload videos and get support that way from their most loyal fans. But the problem with that is, like I mentioned earlier, there are other things you lose when you switch your videos to for kids. Some of those things that you'll lose are like YouTube stories, you'll lose YouTube comments, you'll lose the ability to be recommended in the recommended section. You'll also lose the ability for when you upload a video, your subscribers will no longer be notified when you upload that video. So basically, for those of you who don't know, recommended is how videos end up pretty much getting watched by new subscribers. And then your subscribers that you have typically end up finding your video through it being notified to them. And unless they actually go look for it, they won't be able to find it. So your video essentially becomes a ghost video, and you're not even actually getting your videos out to people unless they're specifically looking for it. Essentially pretty much puts your channel as a dead channel at that point. So now let's go to, well, let's just say you upload your video as not for kids. And you'll be able to have all those features that you like and, that makes your channel tick and all that sorts of stuff. Well, if you do that and there's a chance that the FTC thinks your video is directed towards kids, you can be fined up to $42,000 per video, per violation they believe is in violation of COPPA. By the way, I don't know if it's called COPPA or COPPA, but whatever, $42,000. If I got hit with one of those, I would be screwed. And let's just say if I got hit if they deemed my whole channel, as child directed, it would literally ruin my career as an artist and just my life as a human being. There's no way I would be able to pay that back. This is where you might be saying, well, how do they determine if your video is classified for kids or not for kids? So YouTube has put out some bullet points and some guidelines in order for us to determine whether our content is for kids or not for kids. Yeah, let's just go ahead and read them. Let's just start with the first sentence. When you're deciding whether or not your channel or video is made for kids, you should consider various factors including subject matter of the video, such as educational content for preschoolers. That makes sense. We kind of know where that lies. Whether children are your intended audience or actual audience for your video. And then the next one is whether your video includes child actors or models. The next one is whether your video includes characters, celebrities, or toys that appeal to children, including animated characters or figures. Well, this one is the biggest problem for us artists, to be completely honest. That is very, very vague in what it means. I guess I'll just rattle off the other ones real quick before I go back to that one. Whether the language of the video is intended for children to understand. Whether the video includes activities that appeal to children, such as play acting, simple songs, or games, or early education. Whether the video includes songs, stories, or poems for kids. Any other information you may have to help determine your video's audience, like empirical evidence of the video's audience. Now, this bottom part is extremely interesting as a note from YouTube saying YouTube Analytics is not designed to help determine if your content is child directed. You should use the factors outlined by the FTC above to set your audience. So basically what they just told us is their automated system that is checking people's videos, telling us whether it's for kids or not for kids, is not the determining factor that will allow the FTC to tell us whether it actually is or not. So if YouTube says, doesn't check your video, and the FTC goes ahead and looks at it and says, this isn't checked, but this is definitely for kids, bam, $42,000 fine. It can be lower than that, from what I've heard, but the lowest that they told us, they're like, someone only got charged, $30-something thousand. I was like, what, are you kidding me? Basically, this is a very bad scenario because even if the algorithm tells you, I just mentioned this, but it's just absurd. Even if the algorithm and their checking list on YouTube tells you this is okay, it's not for kids, the FTC could think differently. So YouTube creators are sitting here with these extremely vague guidelines and thinking to ourselves, how do we know if the FTC is going to classify our content for kids or not? People are very scared on what's going to happen because what is the FTC really going to determine as children-directed content? Some of these FTC people that are going through these videos could easily determine anime is for children. But to be completely honest, most anime are rated T for teen. It's not meant for kids in elementary school. And that's not to say some of them don't end up watching it, but that's on the parents. Parents are the ones that are supposed to be like, I'm going to let my kid play this mature rated game if I want to, or this T for teen rated anime that they're watching. One of the biggest problems is, even if this content is rated T for teen, the FTC has the power and has said this before, even if it looks like it can be appealing for kids, even if it's rated T for teen, if it's appealing to kids, then it may be kid directed. So where is this line drawn? We don't know. That's why we're so scared. And channels that do animations have been getting hit left and right really hard, even if they're just family friendly. And that's another problem. And the biggest problem is they're not distinguishing the difference between child directed and family friendly. And am I worried for my channel? Yes, I'm worried for my channel. I never intended my channel to be directed towards kids at all. But some of the characters to, unknowledgeable person about anime may not know that pretty much all of these things that I'm drawing are rated T for teen. They're not intended for a younger than 13 audience. They're somehow getting a hold of a device and watching it on someone else's YouTube account because, you actually can't have a YouTube account if you're under the age of 13. If they're watching it on someone else's YouTube account, that isn't our problem. That is a parenting problem. I wouldn't even call it a problem because the parent is allowing this to happen, so they must either be okay with it or need to look deeper into what they're letting their child watch. Regardless of anything, we all know everyone here who watches these videos are, 52 years or older. What was that, Jimmy, over there? No, you're 52. Okay, cool. Yeah. So basically, this puts a whole lot of YouTubers at immense risk. From family vloggers to AniTubers to animation channels to drawing channels to any channel that they may deem as child directed. And the problem is, as I've been saying, throughout this whole thing, a bunch of problems, is that their guidelines are so vague. They say animated characters, cartoon figures. This is the problem for the AniTuber or artist industry, because they can consider anime characters as, figures. They can consider it as cartoon characters, because anime just means animation in Japan. It means cartoon characters essentially over there. With this being scary and completely confusing, there are some things that we can try to do to fight back. TC is still holding comments until December 9th. I will put a link in the description for you guys to go ahead and leave a comment, because a lot of the channels you might like might end up disappearing before your eyes. And you want to be respectful and explain in your comment why this is bad for YouTube and why it's bad for the creators. General, how I feel that it shouldn't even be put on YouTube, because in their guidelines, you shouldn't even be able to be on YouTube if you're under the age of 13. If you are, that's the parent's choice. The biggest reasons why this COPPA regulation is so vague and so weird is because it was made back in 1998 or something like that. It was back in the 1990s. That was before people had internet on their phones. I mean, how can that even relate to this day and age? It's so outdated, it's absurd. But yes, the FTC is still open for comments about this regulation. And the reason why they are is because every so odd years, they reevaluate the regulation. And they have public comments in order to figure out how people feel about it. And just in case some of you don't think it's going to affect you because you're not in the United States, you are very, very wrong, because it's a US-based company and any video you upload is able to be seen by US viewers. So this does impact you. And there is also something else you can do that I will link in the description, which is a petition against this regulation and also the changes we would like to see on this regulation. Petitions are something that people think don't get anywhere, but when you get enough of people, things do start changing. With everyone starting to stand up for this, we as a community already have over 600,000 signatures on it. If we can get to 1 million, that's going to make them really start seeing things. seeing that there are a lot of people on this other side and just this Advocacy group on the other side trying to push this regulation and these penalties as hard as possible. We need to let them know we're here, and we need to let them know our voices are heard. So make sure you're getting the word out to the creators that you love if they haven't talked about it yet, and go ahead and sign the petition and leave the FTC a comment. Because I'm actually insanely surprised on the lack of talking about this subject from artist communities and animation communities. Even animation communities from the ones that are getting hit the worst. We need to help get the word out, and we need to fight for, you know, the platform, what we care about, because this is just not okay. We have been making headway, and the FTC has been hearing and been tweeting a little bit about it and been talking to creators. So there has been some headway. We need to go harder and really help the situation, and it will make a change. And just so you guys know, this is not a regulation that only applies to YouTube. This applies all across the internet. So even Twitch, anything that you watch videos on. This is big. But anyways, guys, sorry for such a deep video, but definitely something I'm passionate about, and I'm sure many of you are also passionate about too. And like I said, we are making some progress, and hope is not all lost, but it's all thanks to people raising up and, you know, making their voices heard that things are, you know, starting to look a little better. And the best thing we can do is just be civil about it when we're making our voices heard, and don't do anything like a troll would do. So just be a human being, not an internet troll. But yeah, if anyone here is new to this channel, this isn't typically my normal content. The drawing is not the topic, but definitely wanted to get it out there. But yeah, if you're new to this channel, definitely subscribe, and see you guys in the next video.